Okay, ich springe jetzt. Es reicht mir.
Was geht? Ich bin wieder zurück mit einem neuen Video. Wir reacten heute auf Watch MMA und zwar auf das Video 10 More Deleted Moments UFC doesn't want fans to see.
Was, Bruder? Was soll ich sagen, Bruder?
Also 10 Momente, die die UFC die Leute vergessen lassen will. Auf Deutsch gesagt. Okay, ich würde mal sagen, let's get it, boys. Ihr wisst ja, wie das abläuft. Einmal falsche Taste drücken, falsch mal Leertaste und dann erst draufklicken. Nach Let's Get It, Boys.
Want to win an Xbox One? Enter our 100,000 subscriber giveaway. All you have to do
Nee.
is like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Controversial moments are part and parcel of the entire combat sports experience, whether it's a dodgy post-fight judge's scorecard or a clear instance of cheating.
Ui, TRT-Video hat die Leute auseinandergenommen.
It's pretty hard to watch too much mixed martial arts without running into a moment that makes you genuinely shocked. And as you might expect, the UFC do what they can to sweep some of the sport's more controversial moments under the rug. But even still, you will no doubt be shocked by some of the scandals that have impacted mixed martial arts since its earliest days. I'm D. Wicked from Watch MMA, and here's 10 more deleted moments the UFC doesn't want you to see. Number 10, Inhaler Gate. To kick things off, we're going to look at one of the UFC's most controversial signings to date. The former NFL star Greg
Hardy.
Hardy entered the sport of mixed martial arts with a massive amount of public.
Ja, da gab es ja diesen Moment, wo er diesen, wie heißt das auf Deutsch? Inhaler auf Englisch, aber wie heißt das auf Deutsch? Ich hab's vergessen.
Scrutiny after being found guilty of assaulting an ex-girlfriend. When the UFC decided to sign him and push him as a big star regardless, the MMA world...
Aber man muss ihm Respekt aussprechen. Er hat nur 2 Jahre MMA trainiert und ist gleich in die UFC gekommen. Natürlich nicht wegen seinem Können, aber wegen, weil er beliebt ist. Und nach 2 Jahren MMA-Training in der besten Organisation zu kämpfen und anzutreten und Kämpfe auch zu gewinnen dort, da verdient er auf jeden Fall Respekt.
Was split down the middle, and while Hardy has enjoyed mixed success in his new home, one major controversy arose when his dominant decision victory over Ben Saucely was overturned to a no contest after Hardy was given an inhaler between rounds. That might sound completely outlandish, but oddly enough, the heavyweight claims he was actually given permission to do so by the relevant athletic commission. In the end, the incident is remembered as one of the strangest in UFC history, and to this day, the fight remains as a stain on Hardy's career.
You can't use it in the corner. You know, you can use it in your everyday life during your training, whatever it might be. You cannot use it in the corner.
Number 9, Dana White and Loretta Hunt. Dana White has said more than a few things over the years he'd rather we all forget. And while most of his worst moments have been immortalized in meme culture, nothing can top his foul-mouthed tirade against reporter Loretta Hunt. Hunt, like many other journalists over the years, angered the UFC president by, you guessed it, doing her job. After criticizing the UFC for their treatment of the fighters' managers, White responded with one of his most vicious rants to date, raining down on the writer with an
Diese Rant kenne ich gar nicht. Komischerweise.
laden assault that would make even the most foul-mouthed among you blush. I have rosy cheeks right now. That should tell you something. As you would expect, the full video is remarkably difficult to find in the internet these days, but all in all, remains as one of the UFC boss's lowest moments.
Whoever gave you that quote is a pussy and a and a liar. You dumb you, Loretta Hunt.
Number 8, Stoolgate. Yoel Romero has had quite a few questionable moments during his ascent towards the middleweight elite. However, don't count on finding evidence of his involvement in one of the most bizarrely controversial fights in UFC history in any official
I love you. Don't forget Jesus.
promotional material. Facing Tim Kennedy over 3 rounds, Romero was given an extra 30 or so seconds on the stool after his corner conveniently doused him with too much Vaseline, giving the soldier of God the recovery time he needed to rebound and score a TKO victory. In real time, it was baffling to watch this mess unfold, but on reflection...
Warte mal, Tim Kennedy war doch letztens bei Joe Rogan beim Podcast.
holds a deserving place among the craziest moments we've ever seen inside of that octagon.
He's still sitting on the stool.
Number 7, Jose Aldo. It really is a shame that a generation of new fans will remember the legendary Jose Aldo more for his rivalry with Conor McGregor than the decade-long spell of dominance at the top of the featherweight division. At his peak, Aldo was as good as any fighter to have
Er war echt der Featherweight King. Viel zu lange dominiert.
ever laced up the gloves. But of course, his 13-second defeat at the hands of Conor McGregor
Hallo? 3 Zimmer?
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good
defeat at the hands of Conor McGregor was a crushing blow to
Das
his
war
legacy.
legendär.
To make matters worse, the UFC actually decided that it was a good idea to post footage of the direct aftermath of his most embarrassing moment to the internet, making a live-streamed video of the former champion
Da gab es so viel Heat zwischen den beiden. Der McGregor war richtig in seinem Mind drin.
a mess of tears widely available directly after UFC
Und ich glaube, das war der letzte, gegen den er verlieren wollte.
194. Insensitive doesn't quite do justice to the shocking mistake on the part of UFC.
Black trunks for the champion, Jose Aldo Jr. Conor relaxed and smiling. Oh no! He slapped him like that!
Number 6, TRT Vitor.
TRT Vitor, wie ich letztes Mal gesagt habe.
Vitor Belfort's late career resurgence and his subsequent assault at the middleweight title was among the most violent and explosive runs in UFC history. Beating Michael Bisping, Luke Rockhold, and Dan Henderson with a series of knockouts, one after the other, each more brutal than the last, TRT Vitor seemed destined to capture what would have been his second UFC championship. However, just prior to his clash with the champion Chris Weidman, the UFC decided enough was enough and it removed his exemption from the usual ban
Das war eine kurze Zeit legal, TRT, diese Testosteron-Therapie.
on TRT. 18 months after his final contender fight, a different Belfort returned. No longer bursting with inhuman strength and speed, and as you would expect, Weidman dominated and defeated Vitor over 5 rounds, ending one of the most controversial title reigns in the sport. Number 5, Towelgate. Daniel
Ja, das war ziemlich slick. Okay, er wird drauf eingehen.
Cormier is among the most popular fighters to have ever competed inside the UFC. However, ahead of his UFC 210 light heavyweight title clash showdown with Anthony Johnson, he pulled a cheeky move that even his most devoted fans were forced to accept as a little bit sus. With the title on the line and the 205 weight limit still eluding him in the final hours of the weigh-in, DC, while standing on the scales, appears to grab the towel being held in front of him in order to take some of the pressure off the scales. No matter what you believe actually takes place, Cormier made weight and went on to submit Johnson by way of rear naked choke, and the UFC, for the most part, acted like nothing suspicious happened whatsoever in the lead up to the big bout.
Das war auch ein Skandal. Ich mag Daniel Cormier.
Is back and made weight.
Number
Das ist nicht
4,
fair.
Nick Diaz. Although not necessarily the sole fault of the UFC, the treatment of Nick Diaz in the later days of his career was equal parts shocking and completely unfair. We all know about the elder Diaz brothers' turbulent relationship with authority, and specifically UFC's president Dana White, but it was his 2015 run-in with the Nevada State Athletic Commission that stood as one of the most
Der wurde 5 Jahre gebannt wegen Weed.
First thing you do or think of when you wake up?
I don't know, maybe hit the weed, get out on a run. I think that
Das ist abnormal.
shocking moments of the era. After failing a drug test, Diaz was handed a 5-year suspension for the sport and a $150,000 fine after testing positive for marijuana, a punishment that was seen by some as the powers that be
$150,000.
attempting to make an example out of the stock
Das heißt, du musst $300.000 machen, dass du das Geld ausgeben kannst, um deine Schulden zu bezahlen.
and superstar. Of course, the severity of the ban was completely ridiculous, and after a huge response and retaliation from the MMA community, it was overturned to a shortened sentence and marginally lower fine, because I guess put that's a Band-Aid on the wound that you just made.
This sport, this commission, everybody, they've done everything they can to keep me from being all the way on top.
Number 3, Semtex. Paul Daly will forever be known to the fans for his vicious punching power, his legendary one-round showdown with Nick Diaz, and of course, the time he managed to screw up his UFC dream forever in one moment of complete and utter madness. At the time, the UFC were attempting to clean up their image, moving away from the just
hätte echt was werden können.
label in order to secure a major television deal to boost up their profile. However, the former welterweight contender Daly just couldn't help but throw a shocking sucker punch at his opponent Josh Koscheck. After a losing effort to the former TUF contestant, following Koscheck after the final bell of their 3-round affair, Daly unloaded a quick hook on his foe before being subdued. And as you might expect, Dana White was furious with the Brit and vowed to never allow him inside a UFC octagon ever again. To this day, remains as one of the most outrageous moments in the sport.
There's no excuse for that. These guys are professional athletes. You don't ever hit a guy blatantly after the bell like that.
Number 2, Randy Couture. Considering his status as one of the biggest
Dana White. Randy Couture und die UFC hassen sich.
In mixed martial arts history, the feud that eventually saw Randy Couture's relationship with the UFC irreparably damaged was among the most memorable controversies of the decade. Angered by Couture's desire to leave the UFC and test himself abroad, Dana did
jetzt bei Bellator Kommentator, glaube ich.
Everything from ban him from cornering his son Ryan during his own UFC run to severely downplaying his significance within the context of UFC's own history books. Even now, the pair find a way to take shots at each other in the media whenever they get the chance, something that has only been exacerbated by Couture's connection to major rival Bellator.
Randy Couture comes off as the greatest guy in the world, Captain America. He's the furthest thing from it, and I'm happy to not be in business with him anymore.
And number 1, controversy has always followed the career of Jon Jones, but even still,
Nummer 1 Controversy.
one of his most infamous moments has all but vanished from the official story when the promos start running. Scheduled to defend his light heavyweight crown against the veteran Dan Henderson at
Egal, mit Steroide, Drogen, alles mögliche.
UFC 151, a late injury to his opponent forced Jon to make a choice. A suitable replacement had to be found in the form of Chael Sonnen, and by all accounts, the show was primed to go ahead as planned. However, Jon Jones, being the diligent student of the game that he is, declined the short notice fight, and as a result, the entire event was canceled. Ask Dana White about it now, and you will likely get the sternest of looks and, depending on his mood, a ban from all future press events.
If he beats Jon Jones, he goes down in history as the most accomplished fighter ever.
And those are 10 more moments that the UFC was so despising that they deleted from their own history. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down.
So Leute, das war's wieder mit dem Video. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Lasst einen Daumen da. Und wenn ihr mehr von den Videos wollt, dann teilt, kommentiert und liked meine Videos.